Hello, and welcome back to today's episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat, the podcast where we connect with powerful change makers, visionaries, and everyday heroes who are shaping culture and community. Today, we are joined by Dr. Deidre J. Crowley. She's an educator, nurse, a business coach, an Amazon best-selling author, a two-time Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, and she is the new 2026 Miss Northeast Gwinnett Corporate America.
Thank you.
Dr. Crowley was born in Jamaica, and she is now serving communities through education, healthcare, and mentorship. Dr. Crowley is passionate about helping others discover their purpose and potential. Her mantra is simple but powerful. After the battle comes the reward. Dr. Crowley, thank you and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So you have to tell us how what in your life shaped this mantra after the battle comes the reward.
For me, growing up in Jamaica and actually, going through different changes when you come from certain communities and you have to go out and you have to find different resources. And sometimes you're faced with challenges and you just know that, when you put God in the center, you have that guiding force with your parents behind you, or even you have to have that innate feeling that you want to be something or you want to be someone. And you keep pushing. And even when there are challenges and you may have failures, it's not the failures that matter, but it's actually how you overcome it, the steps that you take to actually work towards the goal that you have in mind. And then migrating from Jamaica to America, and then I was teaching for many years, and I came here teaching as well, and then to switch from teaching to nursing. So no matter what you go through, it's always a transition, and you just have to know how to work through it. So for me, I just that just stood out for me is after all the battle, no matter what you have to go through, there's always the reward of you achieving your goal.
How did you get from nursing? How did you get from teaching to nursing?
So that's a funny story. So I got married. My husband, that I'm married to, is military,
Okay.
and when I relocated from Northern Virginia to Chesapeake, Virginia, at that time there was a shortage of teachers, and they had put a even though there was a shortage, they had put a
Mhm.
block and hiring teachers.
Really?
And when I went there, I was looking at Norfolk Public School. I was looking at just all the public schools in that area.
Hmm.
But because there was a block on hiring teachers at that time, I said, "What next do I like doing? I like serving. I like working with
Hmm.
people. This is what I do naturally." So then I said, let me think of healthcare, and that's how I actually went in nursing. But when I went in to do nursing, I wanted to explore different aspects. But then my dad got sick in this time as well, and I was getting calls to say, prepare for his funeral. He wouldn't make it for the next 30 days. We were supposed to start planning his funeral, and I said, nothing but God. God is going to have the final say.
Hmm.
So I had to go PRN with my job, take time off, and I actually went for 2 months and I nursed my dad back to health. He's still alive today, 8 years
Oh, praise
later,
God.
after they had said that. So that was one of the main things that kept me nursing, because I knew that even though I love teaching, it's my passion, and I excelled in it, but nursing was a calling for me.
Okay. Oh.
Wow. So, what's your personal journey with mental health? I know you help veterans, and I know you're key on mental health, and we are huge mental health advocates on this show. And I'm
Mm.
a veteran as well. So, do
Well,
you
thanks
have
for
a
your
personal
service.
journey? Proud to serve. Thank you for acknowledging that. Can you share your personal journey? What drawed you close to this mental health arena with veterans?
So I been in the family with a lot of veterans. I noticed that, especially on the wife's side, and I in Virginia there are many centers where you actually have spouses that have to actually leave the homes, and they are placed with their kids. And even when I was doing been working with small clubs and stuff like that, I realized that the wives, it's an unknown fact sometimes, where wives actually they were abused and they couldn't talk about it, and mentally it tore them down. There are wives that were so dependent on their spouses, because a lot of military wives, they do not work, so
Mm,
they're highly dependent on their spouses, so they don't have a say, they don't have a voice. So I wanted to help them to find a voice, find something that you really like, that you're passionate about, start doing it a little bit at a time. Don't feel like your world have ended. I've the divorce rate is very high for the military. Also, a lot of persons actually have committed suicide. So when I looked at all those statistics and see what's going on, and a lot of times they're saying the spouses of persons, it's like a 74 to 77%. So for me, I started honing in on that, and I got my daughter. She's 12. We started going to some homes of battered women and kids. And when we went to these homes, we realized that a lot of them were veteran spouses or they were veterans themselves.
mm,
So that kind of honed in on me that a lot of the focus is not there. And then you have my husband, a lot of time he's getting calls from veterans. They're about to get out, they're scared because they don't have the resources, they're not provided the needs, so they go in depression. And some of them, they turn to alcohol, they turn to drugs, they turn to abusing their spouse without even realizing that it is all this PTSD or all these other stress that is leading. So it became a passion and a drive for me to kind of help the military, because for me they serve, and then when they need the help, a lot of time we don't have enough resources to
mm.
help them.
And that's interesting that you mentioned the spouses, because there is a lot of focus on um,
Us
the
veterans.
veteran
Mhm.
and mental health, but it's a family situation, isn't
Mhm.
it? So and not oftentimes I don't hear, as a civilian, I don't hear about the spouse and the mental health needs of the spouse as well. So that's enlightening. And so you volunteered at the battered women's shelters, you and your daughter?
Yes.
Oh,
And I started to try to educate some of the women that, in the military, you actually can have a counselor to sit with, even if you want to have communication classes, even if you just want to have one on one, you don't have to have a marriage counseling session. You can have personal sessions. So a lot of them, they weren't given these information. They're not even aware that it's out there that they can use it. So you have to educate them on it, because some of them, they're just dependent on hearing from one person, and they're not open to getting out in the atmosphere and learning. So I had to go in these centers and kind of educate them. Some of them, they have to stay away from their spouses. But in the military, you also have the they say ombudsman, but actually can be a man or a woman, but that's just a title. But a lot of times they are scared to speak up that they're abused at home, verbally, physically, mentally, emotionally, whichever abuse, because they feel like, especially if the spouse is high rank, they feel like it's a brother, good
they don't
brother
want
fix
him to lose
him,
his
and it's
position.
going to come back. And sometimes some of these women I've met, actually they spoke to someone about it privately, and then they get abused at home. So they're
Mm,
sitting in a situation, I don't have a choice. And like going to a lot of functions and sitting with military spouses, and then starting going out in the communities, this is what I was finding. So
mm,
that became that's just something that I hounding on, and I want to keep hounding in on it, because I don't think the voice is there much. I don't think people talk about the spouses, because a lot of times I think what people lose the focus, that when the military goes out, the spouse is home holding everything together. I can speak for me. When my husband went out many years, and he deployed for 8 years at back to back to back,
mm.
sometime almost a year. And you're there and you're watching every news that come up. You're calling everybody that is associated with shit. Because sometimes you don't even get a phone call until once a month, if so much, sometimes 3 months. So you're just really depending on communicating via email, and mentally that tears on a lot of women if they don't have a support system, because they're trying to keep the home together, they're trying to keep the kids together.
Yeah,
And if your doorbell go off and you're not expecting a call or someone to come and visit, you're like, am I going to get his dog tag? You're just thinking, and the dog,
mm,
the dogs are what they wear.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
just
yeah.
thinking, is he dead? I haven't heard from him for 2 weeks now, because he may be in a dead, I can't remember the term they use. It's like when there are certain places where they can't communicate at all, because
Dead
it's
zone.
top secret.
Hmm.
A dead zone. So like they hear the doorbell go off. it's almost like something triggering their head. You're thinking, I wonder if they're coming with a dog tag. So mentally, these women are drained, and a lot of times I don't hear people talk about what the spouses or or the family members go through.
I can only
I'm
imagine that's
so
what can
glad.
be producing.
I'm so glad you shared that as a veteran. And I remember spouses wanting to get information about their active duty member. And if we don't have a signature, an affidavit saying that we can release information, we can't do it. You know, in the
Mm,
military, I worked in HR, and that kind of meant everything. I was the person to help you with your pay and delivering mail, and some of
Mm-hmm.
their spouses would ask for their mail. If the mail came to the base, we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't give it to them, you know, and that's something that people should know, that
Mm-hmm.
spouses of veterans, male, female, whatever the case may be, you need to make sure that you're included in that information,
Mm-hmm.
uh, if all possible. But
Mm-hmm.
you said a few things that made me also think about the stigma around mental health and the negative um, behavior of the active duty member, because the spouse and family are in service too. We just think it's
Mm-hmm.
the veteran,
mhm,
but it's the
mhm.
entire family
Mm-hmm.
that's in service. What are some things we can do to break that stigma so that we can bring more awareness and support? What have you found in your work that helps break down that stigma?
I think a lot of times when veterans are going to be deployed, if there is like a system where you can go in, you can have a session where you're meeting all the persons who are deploying, at least their immediate spouses coming together, having a almost like a get together. So you're socializing, you're experiencing is like a resource where you have one or two persons at least on that same ship. Or on if it's an army or whichever area of the military. For me, it was Navy, so I say ship a lot, where
Mhm.
you can actually communicate with. I think a lot of times breaking down and explaining, because some of the younger wives they did not understand that they may not be able to have the resources to get information about the spouse, like you say, or communicate with the spouse when they just leave because they may just get married and they're deployed, because sometimes they just get a notification you have 24 hours to go out,
Correct.
and it take them through that spiral because they're not educated, and when they're out there there's no communication back to you. A lot of time it's
Mhm.
just the veteran that's doing it. So I think if there's a system where the ombudsman or ombudswoman, well, they say ombudsman, but but
You know
if
what
they
you're talking about.
communicate back with the families, or even have, like, now you can have chats or email system or something where at least even on a monthly basis to just to touch base to say everything is fine, your spouse is fine or your loved one is fine, there's some sense of ease to know, well, at least I'm getting some communication. But when they're gone for 8 months and you're just holding on to an email from your spouse,
Mm,
or you may not know, you may be a young wife and you don't know anybody on the ship, you don't know anybody else in that area,
Mm-hmm.
and you're
On
just
base.
left.
Mm-hmm.
So having that, even having a social prior to leaving, so you can network with those persons, and those persons can now become a new family, because you were family when you're in the military. You become a
You
family and say you can lean on each other, you know?
You said that right, because we become family, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, because
Mm-hmm.
we need one another when the other person, when your family member is gone. You know, you wrote a book, you are an author. I want to shift gears. Can you talk to us a little bit about your book, Beyond the Lens, and
Right, so
what
that's
made
my
you write it?
second book actually.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's my second book. Both of them were bestsellers on Amazon. So my second book, Beyond the Lands, we came together with Len and JB, James Brown. They're producers of the Atlanta Film Festival.
Mhm.
And we came together with other Miss Corporate America contestants as well. And we wanted to share, like, our lives, things about different aspects, especially including mental health as well, and just perseverance. How each one of us from different, I'm in healthcare, they're in producing, other persons are in business, just different areas. And how can you keep progressing? How can you, the different trials we've been through, and how did we focus and get through it? So we wanted to share our private life a little bit more, that someone out there can read the book and can say, well, that person, they can, especially African American, that was our target. Especially because a lot of times, they don't have a face to look to. They may just think that I'm not going to be able to be an author. I'm not going to be able to be a bestseller. But when they look and they say, oh, she looks like me. Or someone can say, oh, she sounds like she's from the Caribbean. She's one of us. They can actually relate, and they can say, I can do that too. And
Mm,
they can look and say, well, it wasn't all cookie and cream. She had to go through these things, but she persevered through it. It's not the failure, but how you come out of the failure. That's what matters. So that was our main focus. That's why we wanted to go beyond the lens of just what you see every day. We are smiling on social media, but really getting to know us.
Amen.
what's behind the glitz?
Yes.
Speaking of
Yeah.
glitz,
What's
how
underneath
did
that crown?
how did you become involved in the Miss Corporate America?
So, a lot of persons I network with, and starting with Dr. Mahir, she's actually the founder for Georgia, because you have it in different states. Dr. Mahir and I work on a lot of projects, and the two books I've done, we've worked on it together as well. And my doctorate I did with Dr. Mahir as well. So we collab on a lot of things, and I work a lot in the community, and I like
Mhm.
going out and stuff. So she approached me about doing it because I want to do more in Gwinnett County, especially. And she was like, why don't you do sit for Gwinnett County? And I was like, I don't know. But because I was always doing things behind the scene, and I always wanted to get more involved in more things. And she was like, but you're already doing it, so why not sit
Mhm.
in this atmosphere? And then I thought about it, and I said, you know what, when I actually sit in the atmosphere, then I can now have more of a voice, especially to speak. Like I said, the military spouses, I can speak more. I can get in more doors, instead of just being a nurse manager or just being a teacher. When you sit as the county queen, then you can actually have more access to help them.
Okay. And so you've chosen as your platform during your reign mental health.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
So you've
Oh,
been described as a Renaissance woman. Please tell us about what makes you a Renaissance woman and what's your definition of a Renaissance woman.
So I have mixed, and it depends on depends on the moments in the day. For me, the main thing is I'm still old school with a lot of things, a lot of my approach, my dress. Because even though I like fashion, I'm not going to be too skimpy or stuff like that. So I'm
Okay.
still old school with those kind of things, those traditions. But I'm still the type. I'm still modern in thoughts to know that there are different ways we can approach it. Back then, we'll just send letters for everything. Now I'm going to go out there. I'm going to come in. I'm going to go out. I'm going to speak. Back then, women didn't have a voice. Now we're speaking up for the persons who don't have voices. We're bringing them with us. So for me, being a Renaissance woman, I'm a mixture. I
Okay.
I know when I know when to code switch. If I'm in a certain atmosphere, I know how to fit in, because sometimes you have to fit in a certain atmosphere to be able to bring the resources that you need to your platform that you need. So for me, a Renaissance woman, you're changeable. You know how to conform to the different environment without losing yourself.
Got you. A Renaissance woman is adaptable, but she's still authentic.
Right.
facts.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we add that in there, right? You're still authentic.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, thank you for sharing that. I also would like to know, what is the time that you failed, you learned, and you grew from it?
I would say the main time that I failed, that for me, some persons may not see it as a failure, but for me, I remember when I first think about traveling, and I remember when I went to, get review for getting a visa the first time, I remember the young man said, "You're too young and pretty. You don't have no kids. You're not going to come back." And to me, at the time, I was
Yeah.
teaching. So I was just thinking of, you want to travel, you want to be able to come
Mhm.
back and tell more stories to your kids at school. You want to have the experience because I like experiencing things and talk
Yeah.
about it. But it never, a lot of persons, they go to the embassy a lot of times in the Caribbean and they just, oh, I'm not going back. I felt, no, no, no. That motivated me to say, okay, you need more things. Next time when I come, I'm going to bring you things. So I got more involved with more things. I showed them how now I am now the Girl Scout leader. Now I'm now Brownie's leader. Now I'm now the leader for my school. And this is what I'm doing. And I got more, I showed them that, listen, I'm actually coming back to my country. Because at that time I didn't think of migrating. I just wanted to travel. So I
Mhm.
actually took it as okay, it's okay. I didn't get through this time. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to get through. It's just not the right time. The Lord said, wait. Because he always said no, yes, or wait. So
Mhm.
I just took it as wait. And the next time I went back, I didn't go back for a visa. I actually went back to travel overseas to teach. So it was, to me, it was actually greater because I was getting to travel to do something that I'm already doing and very passionate about. So
Mhm.
I look at it as if I just said no, I'm not doing it, I would have just dropped it by the book. I wouldn't have gotten the experience to come overseas and teach. And by coming overseas and teach, that first year I came, I got awarded the gold medal for the entire state of Virginia in
Oh,
that
wow.
area. And then the other year I said, oh, there's a platinum award. I went for the platinum. And I got the platinum. So I look at it as, what if I just said, oh, I didn't get my visa, I'm not going to do
Mhm.
anything now.
Wow.
So that's how I see it, as something that and that's why after the battle, the reward. I look at it as, okay, well, probably that was a loss, but I learned from it. I
Yeah.
learned that you don't just give
And they
up.
kept
And that's
going.
what I keep telling my daughter. You don't give up. You may not get it the first time, but that's just the Lord saying it's not the time for it right now.
Not yet. Not
Yeah.
yet.
I know you do a lot of work with humanitarianism. So, what are some things that you do to help people who are underserved and underrepresented with your crown?
So far, what I've been doing is I do the battered women and kids that I go I do a lot in my daughter's school. So when they have events, they have like the Caribbean events, and I'll go there. I'll set up. I'll cook different meals, do the different traditions, including them, so they can actually come out and get a meal. And just to be even recent, when we had Thanksgiving and Christmas, I made baskets, and I went out in my own community and other communities surrounding and give out baskets. And I took my daughter because I want to make sure that she sees that even though you have, you always make sure someone is have. You keep passing it on. So we went out and we knocked on doors. With our church as well. She's a pathfinder, so we went out and we did fruit baskets one week as well to the mobile homes as well in Gwinnett County. I go out and I talk to women all the time because sometimes some persons don't even need like physical help. Sometimes they just need someone to talk to. So
A
I'll share my
support
number and
system.
I'll go there
Mhm.
and I'll sit with some of them. And if I know that they had a loss, or I know that someone is sick, or sometime even in the neighborhood. Like I have a neighbor right now, she had knee replacement. And I may be at work, she called me. I maybe she needs something, she called me. I go do some research. And we're both nurses, but we're in different fields. So she know that I work more with rehab and all of that. So I'll have more information. I get it for her. I'm going to look at her. She get a new medication. I'm going to tell her about it. No, I think you need a higher dose, or something. Helping in different ways.
Mhm.
So tell me about the process, or tell us about the process of receiving two Presidential
Mhm.
Lifetime Achievement Awards.
Ah.
So I can understand one. What do you get? The two lifetime? You got one lifetime.
So
So what
I
was the
actually,
process?
because I go out a lot. I work in the community, and I also work with school systems.
Mhm.
And then I work with churches as well. So I'm always out. That was one. That was like a glitter. At one part of my marriage, my husband had a problem. Like, you're always out in the community. You're always doing something. You're always. But I had to kind of explain that. I think that's what drive me. I came from a
Yeah.
family where my grandma was like that, my mom is like that. It's just pass on. So I was always out there. My name was always out there. Like anything my daughter's school is having, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to make sure that I'm involved because I want to know. I want to be touching. For me, I want to make sure that when I leave, I don't have to leave money, but my thing is I want to know that my daughter, I've seen that you have to be a humanitarian. That's the main thing you need to be, regardless of everything else. You need to make sure you're helping somebody,
Yeah.
because you may be able to talk to one person and save them from committing suicide today. So those
Mm.
are things that matter to me. So I, because I work so much out there, that so I was actually, and I have to do more than 5,000 hours of community service. So by doing
So
that, I was
it's part of
referred.
your crown. Wow, that's a
Say
lot.
that question again, Karen. I couldn't hear it.
So it's part of your crown. It's part of your title. You're required to do the 5,000 hours of community service.
No, 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 no. So
Okay.
I actually got the Lifetime Achievement
Okay.
Awards, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. The first one 3 years and the second one two. So it's not part of my crown. But also to be a part of Miss Corporate America, you have to be active.
Okay.
So it helped to propel me towards this as well. And that is why Dr. Mahir knew that, because she was a part of that process.
Mhm.
She was like, you're already doing it.
Wow.
So, why not? Because before I was more, I do things and I'll do it in private.
Okay. So the
So
5,000 hours
I'm
of
not
community
as
service.
public as I want to go out, and like I want to be more involved in more things and stuff like that, because I'm fairly new to Georgia. I came to Georgia 3 years ago. I relocated, so I'm still trying to find different things in Georgia to dip dab in. In Virginia, I knew more because I was there for many years. But she knows how active I am. She knows my passion and my drive, and especially just even as a nurse manager. When we had the snow the other day, I came and slept on the floor because I wanted to make sure that my residents were fine,
Mhm.
and I left my daughter at home with my parents. But I wanted to make sure, because I have the biggest unit, so I wanted to make sure the nurses were fine, the residents were fine, and everything. So that's just something that's innate for me.
So it
Well, it
sounds
sounds
like
like,
service. I'm sorry. It sounds like service is your love language.
Yes.
girl, if you don't get out my head, that is literally
That's why
exactly what
we
I
be
was about to
screaming,
say.
man.
You have a heart of service, is what I
Yeah.
was going to say. That's why we have a podcast together, okay?
Yeah.
But literally, so it sounds like service is your love language and that is your calling.
Hmm.
And, I understand that you are a woman of faith because in the end, before we close our eyes or when we close our eyes and we get to meet our maker,
Hmm.
what has my life been about?
Hmm.
Who did I help? Has my living been in vain?
Hmm.
And so it sounds like that's the path that you are on, making your existence count. And for me, you don't have to go out and touch 1,000 people, but have you impacted someone's life? you
Hmm.
know and that's what this life is about, and this life is also about how we love others,
Hmm.
because if we've lived this life and we have not made connections with other people, if we
Hmm.
have not shown and exhibited love to other people, you can I'm getting on my soapbox, but this
Get
gets
on it,
me.
girl. Stay on it for just two
uh,
more seconds.
how how folks preach about love, right? And they can quote you every scripture that there is, but they don't show it.
Show it. Hmm.
If I talk about love, but then I don't show loving kindness to my neighbor, if I am not kind to the people in my life and outside of my life, what is it all about?
Right.
They don't practice what they preach.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't put
All
their money where
then
their
you just
mouth
see the
is.
fire with no smoke. I like.
The fire
Yeah,
with
you
no
gotta.
smoke.
Hmm.
And for those Eminem fans, your mouth is moving, but you're talking a bunch of gibberish.
Ah,
Right.
right.
You
Hmm.
really ain't doing nothing. Well, with that being said, you are a woman who has a lot going on with your life. How do you prioritize your mental health amidst all of your life's demands and stressors, family, and the whole life, and being a woman of service? How do you prioritize your mental health?
For me, that's something I had to learn because it was always people, 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 and I never, you never really took time for yourself. But what I had to learn was it's okay, especially now that my daughter is older. It's okay to take a moment to go somewhere and just relax. Relax, sit with a
Mhm.
friend, have dinner, or I like music and I like dancing. So sometimes I'll just go in my room, I'll just lock away, I'll just dance, and I'll just relax my mind. Or sometimes just soaking in the tub with Epsom salt, and you just soak. So
I know
I've learned to at least once a week to, and this is something I started doing with my family too. At least once a week, we go out and we do something different. So we do something fun where we just relax. We're not talking about what happened this week. We're not talking about what's happening in the world. We're just doing something that makes us laugh. Can be going
Yeah.
to a movie, can be just going to the mall, walking around. It can just be sitting out. It doesn't matter, but something that's going to calm us, because I want to make sure that and again, I'm involved in my family, but it soothes me. When I see that we can sit here, we can all laugh, but I do take private time now. I've learned, because I had to learn that, to sit and take private time and like dance or just go out and just do something that I really want to do.
Or to just be still. Sometimes we have to learn to just be
Be
still.
be still.
And
Be
that is
still.
a hard thing to do as women such as ourselves who are multifaceted, who have a
Don't
lot.
disconnect it.
We were just saying that, as women who are multifaceted, who have a lot going on, that
Mhm.
it is sometimes hard for us to learn the lesson to just be still, um, and to take some downtime. Go
And
ahead.
be comfortable being still.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that is important. Like sometimes I think people sit still, but they feel like they should be doing something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Literally learning that practice. So I like that you said that, Karen. We got to learn how to sit still and like it. I do love how you said that, Dr. Crowley, that you and your family, you made it an intentional effort, not only just to do it for yourself, but to model this behavior for your young leader that you have in your household. And this is how it all starts, in my opinion, with breaking down stereotypes and keeping pain to yourself, that you're teaching and creating an environment where it's welcome and it's protected and it's encouraged, and it's done in a loving way. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Dr. Deidre Crowley, Miss Northeast Georgia, Corporate America. This was a beautiful
Yes,
conversation.
it
Thank
is.
you. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Do you have any contact information you would like to share with our viewers if anyone wants to follow you or reach out and support?
So on Facebook, I'm Dr. Deidre Crowley. On Instagram, I'm Dr. Deidre Crowley as well. Those are the main things that I use.
Okay.
And you can reach me at, and my contact information is there as well, like if they want to reach personally.
All right.
Person.
Dr. Deidre Crowley, and you can find her on social media. To
Yes.
our listeners, as always, we want you to subscribe to Conversations with Karen and Kat on YouTube, Facebook, IG, and wherever you get your podcast. Remember that you are part of the conversations. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Where we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.